morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us. It's yet another beautiful morning when we have yet another amazing segment of NEURODIARIES. We are excited to be discussing about Down syndrome. Down syndrome is celebrated on the 21st of March. It is a global event when we celebrate persons with Down syndrome and also create awareness. We are excited that you're watching us. Keep it DGTV at Facebook, Instagram. We're also live on YouTube. And to take us through Down syndrome and take us on a deep dive on what Down syndrome is our amazing guest. And before I give her a chance to introduce, I'm your host, Esther Wamai, and we are glad that you're watching Keep It DGTV. So I want to give our guest this opportunity to introduce herself and tell us how she's associated with Down syndrome. Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Allow me to also say congratulations.
Thank you.
For this. This is a great opportunity to create awareness. Thank you very much. My names are Ivana Butuni Nyuike. I am the director and founder of Econ Special Tutorials, a program that works with children with neurodiversity. And within those children is where we have some children of ours who have Down syndrome. I'm also a mother of 5 children. And our last one, Malaika, also has Down syndrome. Yes.
Wow. Yes. Very good. So how old is Malaika?
Malaika will be turning 9 in June.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. So at what age or what point did you know that Malaika had Down syndrome?
We knew Malaika had Down syndrome immediately. Because of her features.
Yes.
So maybe I can explain what that looked like.
Yes.
So what happens when you talk about children with Down syndrome? First of all, if you see one, you think that you've seen them all because they kind of look alike.
Yes.
So what you find is that when we say Down syndrome, is that the children have an extra chromosome on their 21st chromosome. So there's an extra one that comes out.
Yes.
And when that chromosome is there, what it does is that the child manifests in different ways. But the clear ones are that the eyes will be a little bit slanted. They may look like a Chinese. I know somebody once told me, what happened, how come the Malaika looks like a Muchaina? So she may look at the eyes a little bit slanted.
Yes.
The front here, instead of having a bit of a bump, is usually flat.
Okay.
Then their nose are a little bit smaller.
Yes.
And their mouths are smaller, but they're beautiful, beautiful children.
Yes, they
their
are.
Their ears are a bit lower than the other children. So that's the standard that you see of them. And then when you look at their hands, you see how our hands have creases.
Yes.
For them, they're missing like some creases, so their hands are a bit plain.
Okay.
And if you look at their toes have like a slipper. So the thumb is out here and the rest are here. The rest of the toes are there.
Yes.
So those are just some differences in their physical characteristics of persons with Down syndrome. Otherwise, it's also like a spectrum where you have from mild to severe. However, what we have seen, especially with my practice in Econ, is that the earlier you intervene, the better the prognosis of the child.
Okay.
So the children will have some form of intellectual impairment. They will be delayed in their milestones. For example, they will be delayed in walking, maybe let's say sitting, crawling, walking, speaking. All those will be delayed. They will be delayed.
Yes.
But the earlier you intervene, sometimes the gap gets a little bit smaller.
Okay.
They're very lovely children. They have a lot of love, and they can also be very manipulative because they think they're very sweet. Okay. And you can't do anything to them. Yeah. But the bottom line is that these are children who can learn. They can do anything any other child can do. Okay. They can go to school. They can graduate. They can go to college. They can have families. They can drive a car. They can hold a job. It's just that their development is a little bit slower. So if it takes a child, for example, 8 years to do their exams, it will probably take a child with Down syndrome maybe another 4 years, to be able to accomplish that. For college, again, it takes longer, but the joy is that they are able to do as much and whatever they want to do, as long as they have the support.
Wow.
Yes.
Incredible. And what causes Down syndrome? Is there any known cause or risk factors that would predispose a child to Down syndrome?
You know, before they used to tell us, when you were in school, many, many years ago, you know, there are myths and misconceptions.
Yes.
But they told, we were taught that Down syndrome can be caused if the parents are older. But right now, I think where I am, I'm in an organization of parents with children with Down syndrome. I think I'm the oldest.
Oh, really?
The rest are young mothers and young fathers.
Yeah.
So that seems to be some form of misconception. However, causes of Down syndrome are standard. We are told, and research has shown, is that the child will just have an extra chromosome. So the chromosome will cause now the physical manifestations and also the intellectual manifestations.
Yeah.
So the cause of Down syndrome is that the child has an extra chromosome.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you think that there is no risk factor for an advanced maternal age? Because I think also my interaction with most children who have Down syndrome, I think maybe 4 out of 5, the ones I've seen, they are last borns. So that tells you they were born when the mothers were a bit advanced in age.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There is a relationship. It's just that the numbers now are higher for the younger parents than it was before.
Okay.
Before, even when we started ACON, which was about 32 years ago, most of my children with Down syndrome, parents were older.
Yeah.
So there is a risk factor. And the risk factor is not, it cuts across all conditions, not just Down syndrome.
Yeah.
The child can be born with any other condition, autism, cerebral palsy, ADHD. Yeah. So we will not put up, we will not pinpoint and say it's because the parents are older. Yeah, there is a correlation. Yeah, to that.
All right. Very good. Now, talking of the parents that you interact with of other children with Down syndrome, is there an organization, is there a support group that supports mothers or caregivers of children with Down syndrome?
Currently, I know of 2. We have the Down Syndrome Association of Kenya, which has been very active through the years. And we also have T21, which is Trisomy 21. It's a vibrant support group. I belong to that group. It's a vibrant support group. Right now, I think we have over 300 mothers, that families that we are working with, because it's really a support group. That's a place where you come in and you talk and say what's going on with your child. You can express your joy, you can express your anger, you can express your fears, you can express your denial, and it's unconditional, and the parents are very supportive of one another. Yeah, so that we have, at least I know of 2 right now. Yeah, and I do belong to the T21 support group, family support group.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. So T21 in full is Trisomy 21.
Trisomy 21.
And I know that's a subtype of Down syndrome.
Of Down syndrome.
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful name.
Yes, it is. It's unique.
Yes.
It's unique.
Okay. Yeah. So what initiatives do you have for this year?
In celebration of Down syndrome Day, we had planned to do a walk, which we will continue to. We are just in the final phases of the walk. We will have this walk in the city, and I will share with you all the details as soon as we get all the authority documentation.
Yes.
So I will share that with you. So we have that. In the past, we've had medical camps. We've had fun day, parents' fun days, where we get together and just have a good time together. But we've also had times where we sit and just talk.
All right.
Yeah. And then we have cell groups. So right through the country, we have different cell groups. So if a mother has a child and they're in Kwale, we will find a cell group where she will belong to that cell group, and she will get that support from the mothers around them. Yeah, so we are trying to create awareness right through the country, because sometimes if you get a baby who is different, you feel like you're alone.
Yeah.
But immediately the baby is born, and somebody is able to come and tell you, by the way, you're not alone, you can speak to this mother.
Yeah.
And if the mother agrees, then one of us can actually go and speak with the mother and just give them hope, give them courage, take some material on Down syndrome and share experiences so that that mother doesn't feel alone. Yes.
All right,
Yes.
very good. So speaking of mothers, because I think mothers are the ones who bear the brunt when a child is born differently, and with all due respect, I'm not undermining the role of the fathers. I know we have fathers who are also very equally supportive, but I think the natural maternal instinct predisposes mothers to be the primary caregivers. So what is this one constant thing that mothers or parents of children with Down syndrome are struggling with?
Okay, just to take you back, in our T21 family support groups, we have a fathers support group. So we have the mothers and we have the fathers. So when we get together, we also have quite a number of fathers who come.
That's good.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we really are struggling with, I think in the last couple of months, we've lost a number of children because from pneumonia. And it is very sad that within a short span, we could probably lose 7 children. And we wonder, why don't we have the right medical detection that will say that this child has pneumonia, and quickly, because already our children are compromised.
Yeah.
So the immunity is already low. So we are struggling as to what can we do to ensure that our children, first of all, the medics who are working with them are well equipped to understand that this may be an emergency for a child with Down syndrome, but maybe it's not an emergency for another child.
Yeah.
So we need to equip our medics so that they can really take that quick action. Another thing we're looking at is also just to ensure that all the children do have the proper immunization. Now remember, our children also have, most of them have issues with their hearts.
Yeah.
So they have heart problems. We are calling them heart warriors. How can we get that support to be able to detect it early enough and then make the necessary interventions early enough? And how do we get support? Because you know what? I always tell people that you're not given a photo album when you're expecting or when you're getting a baby and you're told to choose. These babies are given to us and they're Kenyan citizens.
Yeah.
We should not be denied the proper medical facilities because of money. Because Down syndrome cuts across all levels of society. We have those who can afford, then we have those ones who are really struggling. We should not lose a baby with Down syndrome because of medical support. So those are the things that we struggle with. How do we manage? How do we get this support? Who is willing to walk with us as mothers and fathers of children with Down syndrome? Which hospital that will say, we will be your champion. We will provide all this for this specific. I know I'm being selfish because I'm talking about Down syndrome. And I know we have very many other neurodiversities. But we need to look at the medical fraternity. We need to look at what is out there that can support. How do we stop the deaths of children with Down syndrome just because it's a medical affair? So those are the things that we struggle with. We also struggle with inclusion. We struggle with our children being included. When they are young, they are beautiful, nice, chubby, loving, huggable. But you know what? They grow up. And as they are growing up, people see the difference. And when they see the difference, they tend to sideline them. Oh, she shouldn't be in this school. This should go to a special school, or they can't do this. We need to, you know, there's no special world out there for our children.
Absolutely.
So if we don't start to include our children with their beautiful diversities and their beautiful abilities at a very early stage in life, where else will they be included? So we also struggle with that. Oh, you go to a school. I remember looking for a school. We walked around several schools with my husband. We were looking for a school for our daughter Malaika. And every time we would talk. They have not seen Malaika.
Yes.
And we'd say, yes, we are looking for this, yes. The minute they see her, the first thing that comes out is that, oh, we don't take children like this. So you wonder, like, how? Does she have a trunk? Does she have a horn? You know,
Yeah.
when you say children like this,
this,
what does that mean? Yeah? Where should she go?
yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So we struggle with that inclusion, and not just to be accepted in a program, but be accepted and given the appropriate and effective learning, instruction. So don't just be a body in a classroom and say, oh, our school practices inclusion. No, practice inclusion, but practice it 100%. So those are the things we struggle with, because even if we take our children to a regular school, we still have to pay for a shadow teacher.
Yeah.
We still have to pay for occupational therapy. We still have to pay for physiotherapy.
Yeah.
We still have to pay for speech and language therapy. We have a lot of other extras. And if our children are on medication, we still have to pay for the medication. If they need to have their echoes and EEGs done, we still have to pay for that. Because guess what? Insurance will not pay for our children. Yeah? They're already segregated.
I actually wanted to get there.
Yes.
Yes, I'm glad you're touching on that.
It's a battle.
Yeah.
It is very sad, because that is discriminatory, and I'd like to say that is discriminatory because these children did not want to be like that. And I always say something. I say, okay, our children, as much as I have said maybe they will have issues with pneumonia and everything, but as they grow older, you tell me about the children in KCCL. They are vibrant and they are all over. How many times do they get sick? Yeah. So we already discriminated against because of that perception that children with neurodiversity or children with disabilities are a liability.
Yeah.
You see, so we have a very, very primitive image of neurodiversity from different sectors, and insurance is one of them. Yeah. So if I have my own insurance against that, and it's not right. It's not right. Yeah.
All right. Very good. So I know you have the privilege of being the technical advisor to Her Excellency, the First Lady, Margaret Kenyatta.
Yes.
So how has that been, and have you had the opportunity to talk with her about the challenges that parents of children with Down syndrome are facing?
It has been lovely. It's really been lovely to know that there is somebody there who has an ear and a heart for our children. For her, it's all the children with disabilities. So it's been very good, and that's why when, for example, when we have the Beyond Zero medical safaris, we make sure that we have involved other partners like the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, so that the children can be registered. And once they're registered, you see, there are a lot of people have question marks about this, but once you get your card and you're under 5, you get access to therapies, to medical and all that, And so she's made sure that children are being registered. In all her medical safaris, there must be the National Council of Persons with Disabilities. We have Cure International. Cure International also, they come in and they do the assessments for children with orthopedic issues. And some of them actually get their surgeries done and are able to go back into mainstream school. So through the First Lady's initiative, she has brought a voice. She's actually brought a voice and visibility of disabilities. Before, it was always put on the side, and she is very, very gentle and very compassionate about children with disabilities. That's why on Autism Month, she will have to, she'll say something, Down syndrome, she'll say something. Anytime she hears there's something, and she will be able to let out a statement. That means she's created visibility, for children with disabilities. And it doesn't stop now, because now she still has the Beyond Zero Foundation, and she still, just the other day we launched the Margaret Kenyatta Institute, and there will be training there. So I'm sure the visibility and training and sensitizing, especially the public officers, because you know it is at the Kenya Institute of Administration, so there who goes there? It's the public officials, the government officials. So through that, that's also an avenue and also a channel that will create training and awareness on issues of disabilities. Yeah. So she is very compassionate and she's very aware, enlightened about issues of disabilities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So listening to you talking about the challenges that parents of children with Down syndrome grapple with, they are the same challenges that parents of children with autism are going through, parents of children with cerebral palsy, children with dyslexia. So it looks like the neurodiversities have really been neglected, and it's like parents are at war with systems that are not ready to listen to them. So where do you think the hope for these children lie? Is it that we don't have policies? Is it our legislations? So what do you think is going to be the hope for the children?
Yeah. You know, Esther, we have the best policies, I think, in Africa when it comes to matters of disabilities.
Yeah.
But I think we struggle with implementation. We struggle with the implementation. We just rolled out the CBC, leaving no child behind. But trying to still include the children with neurodiversity, the first thing you'll hear is that the teachers are not equipped.
Yeah.
The teachers are not equipped to deal with children with neurodiversities. We have to have a serious paradigm shift where we are not starting just to look at the child there and the teacher. We need for ourselves and as a community, first of all, to look at this child as a child. And then a child with an extra. I wear glasses. I'm first a human being, then I wear glasses. So we have the best policies. We have the bill for persons with disabilities is there. We have the trainers for trainees. We have excellent policies and as I said, is implementation. As we rolled out the CBC, there was that big concern of how do we get a child with autism in the same class with regular children without knowing how to modify that child's behavior or even how to differentiate the learning of that particular child. It has been a struggle. But what I understand now, I know we are going through some serious trainings for the teachers, and also the teacher training curriculum has also been changed a little bit, and it has a component of inclusive education. But that's not enough. It is not enough for a child now to be included in school. The child already belongs to a community. So it can only start from the community. It can only start when we look at that child and accept and receive that child as part of our community. And not look at the parent and tell the parent, there's something you did, and that's why your child is like that. Your child is demon-possessed. Your child, you used to drink alcohol when you were pregnant. You did it. Parents really have it rough because of the judgment that the community is making upon the parents. So you asked a question. Parents are fighting with systems. Why should we fight? Why should parents fight with systems? The only way that we can win this battle is, as I keep saying, let's look at our children with neurodiversity as being children first, with certain needs that should be provided, just like any other child. Stop looking at it like it's a liability. That it costs too much to have a special needs teacher in your school, that it costs too much to buy manipulatives. You can make them. So systems will need to be sensitized. We need to create a lot of awareness in the different systems. And from there then, I think the war will get easier when you eventually eliminate that. But we have to start from the beginning, which is this child is a child first, and this child belongs to a community. Look at upcountry. What do they do with the children with special needs? They belong. They're accepted. They are appreciated for who they are, what they can do and what they cannot do. They're given roles. Why is it different let's say in the towns and in the cities, where is it different?
Yeah.
Yeah, the child is still the same. Yeah. So our mindset and our acceptance is what we need to work with. And that's what the First Lady has tried to do, is to create that awareness that these children are there and these children belong to a community. So we need to follow up on that, step up on that. Yeah.
Okay, very good. I'm sure our viewers are wondering, is Down syndrome curable?
I'm telling you, it was curable. Everyone would have. But, you know, I don't know if I would make, I don't think I would change Malaika for who she is today.
Yes.
No, it's not. It's because it's genetic.
Yeah.
It's in their genes. It flows in their blood. It can never go away.
Yeah.
But the interventions that you put in place will equip the child to be as independent as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah? And that starts from very early. Yeah. So the interventions that we put in place will make a difference. If we don't put interventions or acceptance, you see, in a country, acceptance has made that child who they are today. Yeah. Because they talk to the child, they give the child chores, they do things with that child. But here, we keep them aside. Yeah. Yeah. So acceptance and intervention makes the big difference, but it's not curable.
Very good. So what are some of these interventions? Maybe you could break them down for our viewers.
Yes. The first one, as I mentioned, is that acceptance. You accept this child for who this child is. And you're awed by the progress that the child is doing every day. Yeah. So when we talk about intervention, some children with Down syndrome are born very floppy. So they have very low muscle tone. Yes. So they need a lot of occupational therapy and they need a lot of physiotherapy just for them to get to their, to gain their milestones. So there's OT, or occupational therapy, there's physiotherapy. A lot of them also are, their language, acquisition of language takes longer. So they also need speech and language therapy. A lot of, one of the things that people think of Down syndrome is they think of a child who has that. It doesn't have to be like that. Because I tell them that it's also a muscle. The tongue is a muscle. Yeah. So the easiest thing that a parent or a caregiver can do out there to avoid that, they don't have to go to a physio, they don't have to go to an occupational therapist, is to exercise the tongue so that the tongue gets stronger. And an easy way of doing it, I usually just demonstrate, is to take a spoon, press a small spoon, or even the back of a spoon, press it in the middle of the tongue, and immediately the reflex is the tongue will go like that. So you do that and you strengthen the tongue. So your child does not have to go around with the tongue sticking out. And then there are different tongue exercises you can do, just sticking it out, touch your nose, they're learning their body parts, touch your chin with your tongue, touch your ear, you know, touch your, so different things to work on that, yeah? And then these are children who their metabolism sometimes is a bit compromised. So have the child busy, keep them busy, exercise, keep them busy, because they will tend to be obese, and it's not good for their heart. So keep the children busy. You see, these are things that you're doing at home. You're not going to a hospital, you're not going for therapy, but you're keeping the child. Involve the child in whatever you're doing in the house. If you're washing dishes, wash dishes. If you're washing clothes, whatever you're doing in the house, involve the child. That is acceptance.
Very good. So we are going to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll be hearing more from our guests on interventions on Down syndrome. She'll also tell us about her book. She's an author in an upcoming conference that she's part of. So we are glad that you're watching us. Don't touch that dial. Thank you.
our mom's calling ilikuwa kusaidia watoto wenye wana wazazi ikiza children's home.
Nikiona mtu akona shida, ila ni mtoto ama mama ama mtu mkubwa, nasikia tu nisimame nijiulize nitamsaidiaje.
Challenges ni mob sana. Kwa mtu with disability anapitia challenges mob sana.
There is a place always God anatonga msee kwa life.
Are you a parent or a guardian looking for a kind of foundation that you need for your child? Located in Nairobi, Dagoretti along Gong Road, Black Presbyterian Primary School offers computer studies, arts and design, extra curriculum skill, as well as indoor games. With a qualified, friendly and dedicated staff, Black Best offers ideal and conducive learning environment for your child. We provide a safe and reliable transport to our pupils. For more information, call us today on 0720-844-083 or you can visit our website www.blackbest.com.
Welcome back. We are glad that you didn't move. We are now on our second part of the segment Neuro Diary. Keep watching us live on Facebook and on our Instagram page. And in case you'd want to get in touch through our SMS number, it is 0791 300 105. If you have any question, we'll be glad to respond. So, Madam Eva, yeah, so maybe before we talk about the book, you can probably tell us, maybe for somebody who is asking, can a child be screened for Down syndrome while the mother is pregnant? Has technology reached there?
Yeah. Yeah, technology got there a long time ago. So you're able to have, now the name is something, where they actually take an injection, they prick the belly, and they get the fluid out. And with that, they're able to tell you whether that child will have Down syndrome or not. And it has two ways to that, because in the West, they are trying to eliminate disabilities. So if the results come that your child that you're carrying has Down syndrome, you are allowed to terminate the pregnancy. In fact, I kept saying, and they're actually doing that quite a bit, quite a lot. I don't have the figures right now, but it is a scary rate that that's going on. And I kept saying, I tell my husband that at some point in Malaika's life, she will be an endangered species. Because all the others have been killed off, But so there's a catch-22 to that. So there's that one of terminating the pregnancies. Then there's that one of you saying, yes, I'm going to carry this pregnancy. I know what I'm getting into. And equipping yourself, empowering yourself as a mother and as a couple, that we are going to get this child. This is what the child will have. And you start now preparing for that child. So the child doesn't come in as a shock. So yes, there are ways of finding out before the baby is born,
Yes.
that whether the child will have Down syndrome or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the prevalence rate?
Right now of Down syndrome, you know, before they used to say it's 1 in 1,000, but it doesn't look like that actually. Personally, I'll just give a sample of ACON. ACON, we have about 36 children, and out of that 36, we have maybe about 5, 6 with Down syndrome. Yeah, so what does that say?
1 to 6?
Yes. So the numbers are, they're quite high. Yeah, and they're quite high. Yeah. And before, I think what happened, the reasons why numbers were low was because they didn't make it. Yeah. And again, parents used to be told that your child won't live for too long.
Okay.
Yeah, I just met a young man who is 50 years old and he has Down syndrome. That was like, yes, you know? Yeah. So,
okay. Talking of a 50-year-old man with Down syndrome, what's the IQ level of persons with Down syndrome? Can they be smart? Are they smart? Can they live a normal, meaningful life?
Yeah. Then I will go back. What is normal? You see, we have to ask, what is normal? Because for them now, as I said at the beginning, a child with Down syndrome, with proper intervention, early intervention, can do whatever they want to do. I worked in the States for some time, and they lived in sheltered apartments. In those sheltered apartments, they did their budget, they cooked for themselves, they washed their clothes, they went to work, they had relationships, they went for dates, you know. There were some who were driving, there was one who was pursuing a degree. So really they can do anything they want to do. It's just, number one, given the opportunity, given the chance to be able to express that. And of course with the early intervention. But today, a lot of children with Down syndrome may not get that opportunity because we've already decided they can't do it. You see? So you asked another question, are they gifted? Do they have skills? Do they have talents? Yes, they do. First of all, most of them love music. They love music. If you're a parent with a child with Down syndrome, nurture their music. They love dancing. They love singing. If you introduce them to a musical instrument, they're able to do it. Another amazing fact, which really maybe we need to do some research, and I'm sure since we've thought about it, somebody has done the research, is the ability to learn and understand and master different languages. They usually will start off with sign, a lot of signing, for their needs to be met. But if they're in an environment where more than 2 languages has been spoken, they will understand. And they will know whom to address which specific language to. A child with Down syndrome can understand, but are they given that opportunity? Right now we will say, because at home you're speaking English, you're speaking Swahili, a little bit of Kikuyu, a little bit of Maasai. Malaika has picked. She'll pick. When she wants to go home and we are somewhere, she'll tell her father, Baba, Todie. That is now when she's reached a place and she needs to go home. But when she's talking to Auntie Helen, they have beautiful, perfect Kiswahili. When we are walking somewhere and she'll see somebody dressed a Maasai, she will say, Mami, Ashe Oleng. That means thank you very much. That she'll say, and so she's relating. But the ability to speak more than 1 language is amazing. I don't know how that happens. So we need to look at them. Then remember, because we said they have low muscle tone and everything, they are so flexible.
Gymnastics.
These children are amazing. They are able to do some crazy stunts for us. Gymnastics. So a parent with a child with Down syndrome, we don't need to label them A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No. Look at their talent, nurture it. So they are very good in gymnastics. They can do some really interesting stunts, but they need to be nurtured. You need to walk with them. We need to make sure that in school, the CBC school, Leaving No One Behind, we have identified that that gift or that talent, and we are nurturing it without going to send a note to mom and say, we have identified a gymnastic teacher, you need to pay, you need to pay 2,000 for gymnastics. Well, the others are going for PE and they're not paying a cent.
Yes.
So these are the things, these are the balances we really need to create even within our school system. Yeah. So they have gifts, they have talents, and then they love writing, you know, they love creating, they're very creative. Yeah. So we need to give them the opportunity to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I think one other thing that parents really decry is the education, and you've already touched on that. Maybe the exclusion of children with special needs at large, and even where they're already attending the mainstream schools, you find that maybe the teacher's attitude or their capacity to handle the children is wanting. So I know you have a book, and it's titled Teaching Students with Special Needs, an introduction to teaching students with special needs. So probably you can tell us more about this book.
Okay. You know how we say God works in his own mysterious ways, So one time I got really sick. I had been doing teacher training, offering diploma and certificate courses at ACON for over 10 years at that time. And at this point, I had to stay at home. I couldn't go to school. I couldn't go to ACON and see the children. And since I had been training teachers, what I did is I just took the modules that I was using and put it out there as a book. Why? Because even as much as ACON is a special school, it's a specialized school, as much as it is a specialized school, we really did practice inclusion. How did we practice inclusion? We sent out, once the children were ready, we would identify different schools, and we would put we would integrate the children in those schools. But I realized there was such a struggle. The teachers struggled because they were not equipped. They didn't have the skills to be able now to actually take that child, differentiate the learning, get the relevant resources, and give the child the attention that the child needs. A lot of teachers cry and say, I have 24 children in the classroom. What time will I have to work with this one? That's the general outcry. So that led to my now coming up with this book, which is a guide. It's actually a guide for teachers, so that they can look at it. It talks about identification of the different conditions. It talks about causes, so that the teachers can understand and not lay blame on parents and not say, this one is in denial, huyu mtoto wake da. No. So that it discusses the causes, it discusses the assessments that you can do with the child in order to find out exactly where the child is. It explains the condition that the teachers in a mainstream school may be faced with, the different neurodiversities, and then it gives you strategies on what can you do without pulling out your hair. What are some of the strategies you can use as a trained teacher? Because you know you're already trained. We cannot say that the teachers are not trained. We are just adding on to the skills to them. We are empowering them now to be able to include the children who learn differently. So that was my motivation for this book, is to try and get as many teachers as we can, every part of this country, so that they have this resource that they can quickly look at and be able to understand what is this neurodiversity we are talking about, and how can I effectively be able to help this child, because teachers will either make the children or break them. So we need to take care of the teachers so that they can be effective and they can be empowered and they can enjoy. Because really, once you have met a child with neurodiversity, your life changes depending on your attitude. You'll either hate them or you will love them. But we want teachers to love our children. So that's the reason why we have this book.
Wow, incredible. And you wear many hats. You are the current chair of Kenya Private Schools Association, SNE subcommittee. So with such a beautiful resource, I'm just wondering, are schools aware about this resource? Is it available on every teacher's desk? And
Well,
if not, how can they?
Why not? Yeah.
Yes, why not, and where can
Yeah.
they get it?
Yes, we have had a drive, and you have been pretty much of our drive as our secretary of SNE subcommittee.
Yes.
We've had a drive to train teachers, especially in the private schools.
Yeah.
And every time we do a training, we do go with the books. And if they run out, schools are able to call back and ask, can we have some more books?
Yeah.
Currently, I'm in the process of actually revising it, because I realize with special needs education, it's an evolving area. Things change, strategies change, new information come in. So currently we are in the process of actually revising this, putting in more information, because also of the CBC, where we are now bringing in better strategies, where the teachers can actually understand. We are talking about multiple intelligences. We are talking about something called universal design for learning, where now a teacher will be able to appreciate that there is this child who has a different intelligence. You know, when you talk about different intelligence, there are those ones who like reading, there are those ones who like mathematics, there are those ones who like movement, there are those ones who like... So if a teacher is equipped to know that all these children are in her class, now how do I create my lesson plan, bearing in mind? So those are the things we are adding into the book. Yeah. Are they in all the schools? They should be, because I don't think there's another resource like this. Yeah. And everywhere we go, people want that. Yeah. And you know what I also appreciated? Parents also want this. Even if it's for teachers, it gives them information about their children and what they can do with their children. Yeah, because parents become advocates for each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I know you've also been very passionate, and you've really championed for universal design of learning.
Yeah.
So probably maybe you can unpack that a little bit. What is this universal design?
I'll go back to its history. Its history is architecture. So what happened was that when ramps were created, who were ramps created for?
Persons with physical disabilities.
Persons with physical disabilities, persons on the ramps. We don't say, I won't use that ramp because it is for persons with disabilities. Everybody's using it. You go into a lift and you hear doors opening. Who is it made for? Is it for you to stand there and say, thank you very much, doors opening, thank you very much. You've now reached third floor. Your doors opening, doors shutting. It's for people who probably are visually impaired. When you get onto the lift, and you will find at the floor place, it's embossed. That's for people who are visually impaired. Now, what we said is that whatever we create it for everybody, so that everybody can access it. With universal design for learning, there are three things that we keep talking about. The first one is, how do you present your lesson as a teacher? You have to have multiple ways of presenting that lesson. For example, if we're talking about a cow, I can go with this mug. Why? Because there's milk in that mug. Yeah? So there's someone who will see that. Another one will see the picture of a cow. Another one will hear the cow moo. Yeah? So we are presenting multiple ways of introducing what are we talking about. In CBC, it's called the inquiry question. Yeah? Then we have the children. Now, we are going to teach them. How do we engage these children? Do we go to the blackboard and start saying, apple, bubble? No. There's some who will learn through that method. How about if we have actually the real objects and we are matching the sound to the real object? Yeah? That is somebody who will have to stand up and move to apple. Another one, move to this. Yeah? Then there is that one who will need sign language. What is That is I think that is Yeah? So if I'm wrong, forgive me. But So we are using multiple ways of engaging the children. Are we using movement? Are we using music? Are we going outside? Are we using pen and paper? Are we using plasticine? How are we engaging the child? So we have multiple ways of engaging that child. Then after we've engaged that child, we have multiple ways of having that child demonstrate and express to us, I have gotten it. Okay. I know what you're talking about. It does not have to be an exam paper. It does not have to be, the child must recite this. We are giving the child an opportunity to demonstrate to us as teachers what they have learned, without necessarily saying that it has to be like this, like this, like this. Let's get away from the 844. Yeah? Let's ensure that the child has learned by providing different ways. So with UDL, it just says let's have multiple ways of introducing the concept, multiple ways of engaging the child, and multiple ways of having the child demonstrate what have you learned. Then we move on to the next. Yeah. Okay. So that's the joy of UDL. It's really a nice concept.
It is. It is a very beautiful concept, and I think it ensures that no child is left behind.
Exactly.
And every child is given a chance to express themselves. All right, very good. So before we wrap up, I know there's this conference that is coming up. So kindly tell us a little bit more about the conference.
Okay.
Yes.
Esther, thank you very much. I'm so excited about this conference because we have been really grappling with the issue of inclusive education. We've been preaching inclusive education, but we are still struggling. We are still struggling with inclusive education. And at some point we got together with a few lecturers and researchers and teachers. We just got together and we were talking. And we looked at inclusive education and wondered, why are we struggling so hard for the children to be included in the mainstream school? Yet the world over is preaching inclusive education. What are we doing wrong? And we got a solution and we thought, wow, this is what we are doing wrong. When you look at different countries, for example, India. India inclusive education is working. Why? Because they have a philosophy. They have their own philosophy, which they have embedded inclusive education into. You go to China, how come it's working? You go to Japan, why is it working? You go to Finland, why is it working? What are we lacking in Africa that we are struggling with inclusive education? And we realized we have borrowed inclusive education models from the West. We pick them up like this nicely and come and drop them. But they're not contextualized at all for our population, our culture, our context. It's not contextualized at all. So that's why it's not working. So we sat down and we said, so how come, like for example, I'll just digress a bit, the Muslim children, how come even as special as you are, you go to madras, you know your Quran. You can recite the Quran. I have children who are non-verbal, but they recite the Quran. Why? Because they belong to a community. They belong somewhere, and that is expected of them. As Africans, we have brought all that and put it here, and we sit and wait for it to just happen. So we decided, let's look at our African philosophies. And we came up with this Ubuntu. Ubuntu originated from South Africa. I think it was then documented. But if you look at what Ubuntu means, it means I am because we are. I am because you are there. If today you are not here and there was no one here, I would not be speaking to anyone. So that doesn't make me who I am. So now because you are here, we are, and we are a community. We are talking, we are engaging with one another. And we realize that is what is lacking. We have taken these individualized concepts of inclusion and put it in a community that is actually a community of people who care and love for one another and accept one another. So we are having a conference. We are calling it the first inclusive Ubuntu conference, and we are getting people from different parts of Africa to come and share with us what they have done. How can we make inclusion successful in Africa? So we are going to interrogate inclusive education. We are going to look at it from a Ubuntu lens, and we are going to have, we are hoping that by the end of that conference, we will have a way forward in creating our own African inclusive education module that can now be practiced within the continent. That's why now we are having different people from Botswana, we have from South Africa, we have from Zimbabwe, so we have from Tanzania. So we have a very interesting group coming in. And it will not be just research papers being spoken about. We are sitting and having panel discussions. We're speaking to parents. We're listening to the policymakers. We're listening to private and public partners. We are listening to how do we now engage the community to be able to receive and accept this child who is different unconditionally. So we are engaging community leaders. So it's an exciting, very exciting conference. It's really the first of its kind, and it will be held at the Kenya Institute of Special Education. They've been very good about it, and this will be held from May 25th to 27th. So we will also discuss a little bit more about it, getting closer to the date.
Yeah, sure.
And we are encouraging parents to come in. We want to hear their voices. We're encouraging lecturers to come in. They need to understand, for example, Esther, what data do we have of persons with neurodiversities who've gone to university? How many are they? Why are they not going to uni or to colleges? How many persons with probably who are deaf have gone through university?
And maybe to cut you short, speaking of that, because I think it's an issue that I'm very, very passionate about and concerned about. You've asked how many persons with neurodiversity end up in colleges, end up in universities. But the question should be, where are the high school for these people?
That's right. Before even we jump to college,
Because I know we have the autism units in the primary schools. They end at that level. So what happens to these children and many other, even those with dyslexia that are struggling in our mainstream schools?
Where are they? A lot of them are at home.
Absolutely.
Why? Because the schools are not equipped. So we don't have the secondary schools for them.
Okay, very good. So our guests, unfortunately, time has run out, and we would really have loved to continue with this discussion. I feel we have not exhausted, so when we call you again, please do come. But before we let you go, we'd like to hear your sound bite, so maybe look at that camera, and this one here, and give your parting shot. And it was nice having you here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We just hope after this that the community at large will be able to appreciate the fact that our children with neurodiversities, we say neurodiversity, that means their brains are just different. They are first children, then they have the neurodiversity. So what my call out there is to accept them unconditionally, embrace their diversity, because they too have a lot to offer. So as a community, we need to play our role to be able to embrace persons with neurodiversity, because they are first people, then they're different.
Thank you very much, Madam Eva. It was a pleasure having you around. Thank you, our viewers. Keep it DigiTV. Until next week, same time, same place. Thank you.